Pam Bondi says some of the Jeffrey Epstein files will be released today.
200 victims, 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. What you're going to see hopefully tomorrow is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Republican lawmakers have been pushing for the release of classified documents relating to Epstein, who died in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. We will eagerly await the release of those files.
Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi.
Welcome to the last and final Oscars in U.S. history. Y'all must be very proud of yourself. I bet you didn't expect us to be hosting. Now, if you will all take your seats while the bailiff locks the doors, we would like to read from our list. You're all under arrest.
You know the Oscars is like this weekend, right? This is going to be the worst Oscars ever for Hollywood. Who's tracking the outgoing flights? Ellen's already fled. Diddy's in lockup. Who's tracking the outgoing flight? Is there a tracker? Can we lock it down? Can we lock down the flights outgoing from Los Angeles and New York to places that don't have extradition treaties with the United States of America? Woo, baby! Today's the day we get the list and the flight logs. Ladies and gentlemen, it may happen live on our program. We actually had quite a bit to do with this. Humbly, as you, me, together, hearts to the chat, freaking can I get some Kash Patels in the chat? We freaking did it, ladies and gentlemen. Today is our victory day against the satanic pedophile cult that runs Hollywood and the federal government and the monetary system. Like, let's take a brick out of the wall. Let's storm the ramparts today. We win, they lose. The Epstein list is being released. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a hard-fought battle, and today is Victory Day, Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, the highest law enforcement agent in the world, has announced that she will be releasing the Epstein list today. Senator Marsha Blackburn has announced that she will be seeing to it that all of the evidence is released, including the videos, the tapes, the security footage, the photos, the hard drives. She says we are in phase 1. Ooh, baby, we're going to cover all of it today, and exactly who is responsible for this cover-up. The name will shock you because it's somebody who Donald Trump trusted a great deal, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to name and shame on this program. Major Biden corporate media cover-up also exposed. Is Biden part of all of this? Of course he is, actually, right? What did you hear about from Joe Biden administration over the last 4 years? Are you kidding me? The Joe Biden administration is the #1 human and child trafficking organ in human history. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that they're going to have a lot more questions about the Bidens and what they've done with their little Save the Children groups. It's all coming down, ladies and gentlemen. DOJ uncovers massive fraud by the Biden administration. We're going to cover all of it with Representative Corey Mills. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who represents the district in Florida where they charged Jeffrey Epstein. Somebody who's going to, I think, have a lot to say about this. Somebody who also served in the military. Terrence Williams also on the program. Somebody who's certainly familiar with Hollywood and the entertainment industry and who probably has some parting thoughts to Joy Reid in the destruction of her MSNBC show, along with this Epstein saga. So it's going to be a wild show. You are sitting currently in the front seat to the golden era. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show, the golden era, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is who I trust to build wealth. I diversify in precious metals. The reason why is that I can hold my precious metals in my safe. I have physical gold in my safe, unlike Fort Knox. Fort Knox has no gold, most likely. The number one most valuable thing being bought right now in northern Kentucky, where Fort Knox is, are bricks and gold spray paint, because they're waiting for Donald Trump and Elon Musk to come rolling through. I, on the other hand, have diversified into physical gold, and it's the number one performing asset, ladies and gentlemen, over the last 2 years. It's up 1,000% since the 2008 housing crash. It's a smart investment, especially in a topsy-turvy world. If you're looking to own physical gold, especially in your retirement accounts, text Benny to 85545 now. Advantage Gold will send you a 100% free, zero obligation gold investment guide. Plus, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. One more time, text Benny, B-E-N-N-Y, to 85545. Join America's next generation of smart investors. Benny to 85545. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professionals. Smart investors, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. What an interesting and sordid case the Jeffrey Epstein case is. And we have one hell of a show for you today. And we may even have some special guests. My booker tells me. She's incredible. Her name's Kara. But we're going to dive deep into who and what Jeffrey Epstein was. And to do all of this, you have to start at the crime scene. Now, the fascinating thing about the modern era, and the humbling thing about the modern era, is that no matter how rich you are, how famous you are, how powerful you are, no matter how much technology we have, we're all just human beings at heart. And you know a liar when you see one. When you watch somebody lie, it's how a lie detector works. Their autonomic nervous system goes haywire. Their heart starts racing. They start sweating. Their palms get clammy. Fight or flight. They might stand up from the table. You can see guilt in the eyes of people who have something to hide. If you were to ask me, and we're on camera all the time, we're doing interviews, speeches, whatever. If you were to ask me, hey, Benny, what do you think about Jeffrey Epstein? What do you know about Jeffrey Epstein? I'd be like, he's burning in hell. What do you know about Jeffrey Epstein? Every guest that's on my show, everyone I can possibly ask that would know or could declassify this, I ask about it. I want to know more. I want to ask more questions about this. But if you ask that same question, innocent question, worthwhile question, to someone like Bill Clinton, let's go ahead and check in on the reactions here, shall we? This is the single time in all of history, which is shocking, actually, that Bill Clinton was asked about Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton's on camera all the time. You know, he's rolling around in embarrassing skits for Kamala Harris, wearing a stupid camo hat, right? Bill Clinton was asked about Jeffrey Epstein to his face. Let me tell you, does this look like an innocent man to you? Have a listen.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to load up a captioned version of this because I think it's instructive to actually break this down. Bill Clinton is asked about Jeffrey Epstein. In this short 10-second clip, what you see is Bill Clinton glaring at the person asking the question. His chief of staff sneaks in and says, "Don't you dare answer that." And then Bill Clinton says, "I think the evidence speaks for itself." Huh. Well, that's interesting. The evidence does, in fact, speak for itself. When there was a massive tranche of evidence dropped 1 year ago on Bill Clinton, just throw it up, please. When there was a massive tranche of evidence dropped a year ago And by massive, our sources at the DOJ tell us that less than 1% of the available documentation on Jeffrey Epstein has been released. Dropped a year ago. It listed Bill Clinton as on the island. Bill Clinton's denied ever going to the island. It listed Bill Clinton as somebody, you can see there, his chief of staff is the bearded man, right? What kind of a question requires like your chief of staff to go, he's just a meet and greet line. You ever seen anything like this of Trump? You never seen anything like this of Trump. Trump does meet and greets, press the flesh, right? Grip and grin, they call him. He does this all the time. You ever seen anything like this? And check out the death glare after this. The death glare that Clinton gives at the end here is really something. Look at that. He looks back at the guy, right? Saying, okay, well, Hillary, Hillary's going to be paying you a visit, pal. Bill Clinton apparently likes him young, according to Jeffrey Epstein. Danny, grab that quote, please. According to the documents, Bill Clinton likes him young. Bill Clinton was on the island? Victims of Jeffrey Epstein said that Bill Clinton was on the island. Now, how would we know that? Well, we need the flight logs. Apparently, we're going to get them today. The flight logs are going to have a manifest of everybody who was traveling on that plane and where. Bill Clinton has sworn up and down that he never visited the island. We know that he flew 26 times on a jet with Jeffrey Epstein. He behaves guilty here, and everybody can see it. And same as Hillary. Here's Hillary Clinton being asked by a independent journalist about Jeffrey Epstein. Here we go. Here's the documentation. This is what we learned last year. Documentation. Just reminding everybody that, did Jeffrey Epstein ever talk about Bill Clinton? He said that one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. This is one of the victims speaking here. Hillary Clinton was asked about Jeffrey Epstein and her husband's enormous number of trips that he took. Mysterious trips. We didn't know where they were going. We didn't know what they were for with Jeffrey Epstein. Check out the reaction here. Watch.
Then you want somebody who's going to get up every day.
Hey, Hillary, why'd your husband visit Epstein Island 26 times?
You know, I've been at Trump rallies. I've seen hundreds of protesters at Trump rallies that are lib protesters. Sure, they might say something. People might cheer for Trump, and then they get sort of walked out. I've never seen like 17 security guards tackle someone and then rip their shirt off as they physically drag them out. It's like you're behaving very guilty here. Never seen anything like this. This independent journalist activist named Alex Rosen, and we appreciate him asking. This is what happens when you just ask about Epstein. What are they so scared of exactly? Bill Clinton was listed hundreds of times in the documents that we currently have that were unsealed 1 year ago. And I only bring up Bill Clinton, not to pick on the guy, even though I enjoyed picking on the guy. He deserves it. He deserves to be in prison. But what he represents. Because what Bill Clinton represents is, of course, an edifice of power and a operational power that our elites had over the country to put a guy like Clinton in charge, to keep him in charge, and to weaponize clearly their power over him. They want somebody who's compromised. They needed Bill Clinton to like him young, in the words of Jeffrey Epstein, because that compromises control. And if you control all your politicians, then nothing's really out of control and you're actually the president. And that gets to the very point of who Jeffrey Epstein was. and why so many A-listers, billionaires, bankers, Bill Gates, who before Elon Musk was the richest man in the world. He was like best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. This is the operation. If you can get these guys on camera doing sadistic things, then you can control them. Then who's actually in power? Who's actually the richest man in the world? If you can tell Bill Gates or Bill Clinton what to do, then you're the most powerful man in the world. And we're going to get to who was actually running Jeffrey Epstein in just a moment. And who was allowed to kill Jeffrey Epstein, because we're one of the few shows that dared ever ask something like this. And we know. We believe we know. But just a few more reactions to the crime scene here. You know, let's see who looks guilty in all of this. As soon as Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in his prison cell, Bill Gates was on TV and was asked about it. And his reaction is, it defies belief. Listen to this.
I've said I regretted having those dinners. And there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead. So, in general, you always have to be careful.
How much of a sociopath is Bill Gates? I mean, this guy is clinical. Do you see that smirk on his face? He knows. Or at the very least, he's thrilled that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Because he's a compromat. How do we know this? Listen to his wife. Here's Melinda Gates. She's one of the richest ladies on earth after divorcing Bill. Why did she divorce Bill Gates? Well, she was asked about it. She says so publicly. Epstein. He was too big of a friend with Epstein. Bill Gates was a funder with Epstein. He worked on financial deals with Epstein. Epstein was part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They went on vacations together. And when Bill Gates was caught having an affair with a Russian chess player who was half his age, Jeffrey Epstein was involved. These are matters of public record. Melinda Gates describing her only experience with Jeffrey Epstein and her husband and why she left him. Incredible. Listen to this.
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
You felt that the moment you walked in? I didn't realize
that. He was awful.
That. Yeah. And you shared that with Bill, and he still continued to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
But I made it very clear how I felt about him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's evil personified. Evil personified, says Melinda Gates. I'm not a Melinda Gates fan, but I'm just going to take her at her word here. She divorces Bill right afterwards because he's too much of best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. That's really something to divorce the richest man in the world that you've been married to for 35 years. That really must have taken some doing. And it did take some doing. Ladies and gentlemen, Melinda Gates knows what comes next. And she was getting out of the blast zone. Let me give you just one final little zoom in, and then we're going to zoom out big time on what's actually happening here and what the Jeffrey Epstein operation was. Who was behind it? Because it will shock you. Somebody very, very close to Donald Trump was the hatchet man here. We've got this thing on lock. And I'm not saying that Trump's involved. I'm saying that actually there's a greater motivation than ever for Donald Trump to clear his name here, because by releasing the Epstein list, Donald Trump strikes at the very heart of darkness what Trump is fighting and has been fighting his entire life. This cult that has constantly been attacking him and been looking to destroy him. And now it's time for Trump to destroy them. Okay? Let me show you this. Speaking of somebody who tried to destroy Trump, who's the biggest anti-Trumper that ever lived? You could argue that it was John McCain. John McCain ran for president in 2008. Trump ran for president like 8 years later, 2016. John McCain was a animal against Donald Trump, literally campaigned against him, voted against him, destroyed many opportunities Trump had to enforce or to create his policy and his agenda for the country. John McCain did everything he possibly could to stop and to kneecap Trump. It's amazing. What's actually happening now is the Republican Party is so united, we have the energy to actually fight the left. For my entire life, for my entire politically active life, we've just been fighting the right. We've had to fight Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney. We've had to fight Mitch McConnell and John McCain. The incredible value of this current moment is that we all did that. And that country voted for the release of the Epstein files, which President Trump promised again and again and again on the campaign trail. In fact, it was President Trump's first promise. Is this why John McCain was fighting Trump so vociferously? Ladies and gentlemen, there's this incredible clip of Donald Trump at CPAC before he even announced for president. I'm going to play you this, and then I'm going to play you the McCain connection here, okay? Donald Trump, before he even announced, this is a 10-year-old clip, is asked by a befuddled Sean Hannity on stage about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton had famously gone to Donald Trump's wedding and so on. Donald Trump, big-time rich guy in New York. Bill Clinton, his wife, was senator, right? They knew each other. And so Sean thought maybe he'd get some type of harmonious moment here from Trump. Oh, I like Bill Clinton. You know, we're just going to have to see it through, right? What Sean Hannity didn't expect was this answer. Watch.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
What? You know, people weren't ready for that 10 years ago. They weren't ready. We weren't ready. This is when Jeffrey Epstein was still operational. Trump was picking the fight with the satanic pedo cult back when they were still at maximum power. And Trump said, this is going to be my marquee promise to all of you, that I will go straight at the heart of darkness. These people, these animals in Hollywood, in the DC circles, Republican and Democrat, you all know, you're all part of it. All of it. The Podestas, the spirit cooking dinners, all of it. The emails. You people are godless demons, and you're sick, and we know what you all did. And I'm going to gain power, and I'm going to expose you. Trump promised that, like before he even ran for president. Do you understand like the spiritual energy of what's going on in this moment, and why this is so important? Why we spent so much time on this? You don't need Donald Trump to admit it to you. Let's go to John McCain's wife. Here's the McCain connection.
It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
What? Whoa. Hold on. Load it as a play-beside. I need to react to this. Cindy McCain on camera. I told you we did our research for this show. Cindy McCain, and for every show, and we thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for subscribing. For every show. We're the only show that has the guts to actually talk about something like this. And we've been talking about it for years, and we deserve to take our time on this. Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, who is married to inarguably one of the most powerful men on earth, who served in the Biden administration, right? Remember, Cindy McCain was a United Nations ambassador, saying right here, we all knew what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. We all knew it. We knew it and we did nothing.
It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing.
Whoa, what? Has anybody ever, is Cindy McCain still alive? John McCain's not. Cindy McCain's still alive. Anybody ever asked her about this? Like, hey lady, why would you let him do that? Why would you let him continue? Why would you let him get away with it? They all did. They were all involved because they knew who actually had the power. These cultists had the power, ladies and gentlemen. And our focus of this show is to remove power from these sick demons. And that's what we're going to set about doing. That's why our program asked the first time Attorney General Pam Bondi was asked about Jeffrey Epstein backstage at CPAC 4 days ago. We wanted to get to this moment. Let's fast forward to where we are now, and then we're going to rewind and explain exactly who killed Jeffrey Epstein and why. Okay. So, seeing all the evil people involved, all of their guilty reactions, their glee at Jeffrey Epstein being allowed to be murdered by what we believe is a foreign government in Jeffrey Epstein's American citizen, a foreign government allowed to go kill Jeffrey Epstein on sovereign American soil. It's one of the biggest scandals, one of the biggest cover-ups of all time. We must have answers. We asked Pam Bondi 4 days ago about this. The clip was seen by tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people, because it played nonstop on Fox, MSNBC, CNN. Here we go.
Bad guy is something Cash has talked about a lot, and you have when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people who are like predators in this country. Yeah. They've been given a pass, and a lot of Americans think these guys have got a pass for a long time, and maybe even are still being protected right now. Where are we at with the Jeffrey Epstein list, the documents? And Cash has made a lot of public statements about this. Where are we at?
I was briefed on that yesterday. I can't talk about that publicly, but President Trump has given a very strong directive, and that's going to be followed.
Wow. Okay. So
a lot of documents.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So people can expect actual movement on this. It's not just empty promises.
Oh, Donald Trump doesn't make empty promises.
Yeah, right.
I think promises made, promises kept, and that's why we're all there to carry out his directive about making America safe and prosperous.
Pam Bondi then was subsequently asked on Fox News, and then through the course of the way that these things work on the internet, this becomes a meme. And there is a constant drumbeat of where's the Epstein list. Pam Bondi said the list is sitting on my desk. I'm going through it right now. There's lots of paperwork. And we want to be patient. We weren't one of the haters. We know Pam. We love Pam. She's our neighbor down here in Tampa. And let me tell you what, Pam Bondi is the individual who made it capital punishment, death penalty to harm a child in the state of Florida when she was Attorney General. She cares about these things a lot, okay? Pam Bondi is not going to run some type of cover-up operation like her predecessor did. The closest man to Trump is the one who actually killed Jeffrey Epstein. That's what's so diabolical here. We'll get into it in just a second. Pam Bondi is the person who's going to get us everything. We know that. We believe that in our heart. We know Pam Bondi. That's why we ask the question. Pam Bondi has done two things. One, she has actively advocated for the death penalty here for child predators in the state of Florida. And then two, she's been on TV saying, hey, listen, there's no reason to not release the Epstein list. There's no reason to protect these people. Here, before she becomes Attorney General, just a quick one here, Klein, please. Before she becomes Attorney General, here's Pam Bondi laying the legal groundwork for releasing the list. We knew about this clip. This clip's a year old, but this is Pam Bondi saying, whoa, hold on. There's no reason for legal protections for anybody that did any illegal crime with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? She hasn't spoken so openly about it as of late, but we knew that this was her stance. Here we go.
Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
So Pam Bondi's there saying, unless you're cooperating with the government, you're getting named. Unless you're a victim, you're getting named. There's no legal basis for this. And Pam Bondi has finally, and we don't say this as a knock, we say this as we're very proud to have helped facilitate this, has finally come in over the top and said, today we will get to the names and the list. And we've confirmed this through our sources. Hell yeah, it's happening today. This list has been burning a hole in Pam Bondi's desk, and she says, out with it. Let's go.
A lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have, well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for sure.
He sure did.
Expect this, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Clinton will be named as John Doe 36 when the list of Epstein associates from the court filings are made public. This is from a year ago. Bill Clinton's already named. He's already apparently liked them young. And he's already been seen on the island with young women. There are photos of Bill Clinton getting a massage at a private airport from one of the younger women. The destruction of the old political American establishment is at hand. Bill Clinton had Jeffrey Epstein in the White House dozens of times. Why? Here it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, what else is on the Epstein photos, slide reels, hard drives, security cameras? Every single room was wired. What's in there? Very interesting report here. And you heard Jesse, who's awesome. You heard Jesse on Fox ask about it. Yo, are we gonna get like the security cameras? He asked that of Pam. Now, our sources tell us that what we're gonna get is documentation today. Unredacted, greatly unredacted documentation. Redactions only for the victims. And that this is phase one of a large phase of releases about Epstein that the government will be making. Exclusive. The final Epstein secrets Pam Bondi is set to release, and the most sordid yet, all on tape. Get a load of this. Burning a hole in Attorney General Pam Bondi's desk inside the U.S. Justice Department is a file that could contain Jeffrey Epstein's final secrets. As Donald Trump, the new Attorney General, goes through it as a host of famous people around the world, including celebrities, politicians, royals, may be feeling increasingly nervous. Across Pennsylvania Avenue, Pam Bondi's office, FBI headquarters, another trove of evidence, which could include video and audio, remains out of public view. For 6 years since the death of the billionaire serial pedophile, it could be laid bare. From MAGA Republicans, that's me, to members of the Democrat squad, to the White House, there have been renewed drive to lift the veil of secrecy on Jeffrey Epstein. And it could be embarrassing, or perhaps worse, a litany of high-profile figures like Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Bill Gates already know they've strayed into the orbit. The FBI records, in particular, could potentially be explosive if they include surveillance video of Epstein's former mansion in New York, his home in Florida, or his Caribbean getaway, dubbed Pedophile Island. There have been suggestions that Epstein recorded virtually everything, possibly with the nefarious goal of collecting and compromising material, blackmail on his own associates. It's been speculated that he collected recordings to pass on to intelligence services, perhaps including Israel's Mossad. We'll get to that in just a second, ladies and gentlemen, because there are deep and dark connections between Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and foreign intelligence services, including Mossad. Ooh, man. The rabbit hole goes so very deep. But let's just take a quick moment and focus in on what the FBI has. Get a load of this. This is just one FBI agent having to speak under oath. How much more do we know? This is just the tip of the spear. Back in 2019, Special Agent Kelly McGuire of the agency's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force told a court how her team opened Epstein's safe inside of his $50 million New York City Manhattan mansion. They had to use a saw. And once they pried it open, they found diamonds, foreign passports. How many foreign passports? How do you get a bunch of foreign passports? How does Jeffrey Epstein get a bunch of foreign passports exactly? They found CDs and hard drives, terabytes worth of evidence and data. In a closet nearby, get a load of this. They found CDs in a large black binder. In a bin, they found hard drives, dozens of hard drives, marked evidence. Okay. What is, this clearly came from the feds, right? The label had not been put there by her team, the FBI, or any government agency. The FBI has all of these CDs and hard drives still. So Jeffrey Epstein has a massive box called evidence in his possession, filled with hard drives. Evidence of what? Evidence for whom? Okay. Since we now know what exists at the FBI, let's jump on over to our interview with FBI Director Kash Patel to see Kash's opinion on these files and on Jeffrey Epstein. Luckily, we have a historic record of this that happened live on our program. Let's go.
That is the most important. Restoring trust.
Yes.
In our agencies and departments. That the way to do that is not to get a piñata and just punch him mercilessly and hoping for some bubble gum to pop out. The way to do that is to literally give the American people the truth. And that's what they feared about Donald Trump. He's going to come in there and maybe give him the Epstein list and maybe give him the P. Diddy list. You know, he's going to come up there and maybe do all these things, and they are terrified.
Who's terrified? Who's protecting Jeffrey Epstein? Who protected Jeffrey Epstein? Who inside of President Trump's orbit has a very dark connection to Jeffrey Epstein that needs to immediately be investigated? A man named Bill Barr. Bill Barr is the wrong person to lead the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Let's go back to this article that was published in 2019. Well. Why is this relevant? Oh my goodness. How deep the rabbit hole goes. Jeffrey Epstein's dead. His victims will never have their day in court, at least not with this defendant. It is critical that the Justice Department conduct a thorough investigation into the circumstances of his death. But how is it that Bill Barr, of all people, is the people prosecuting this. He needs to recuse himself. Why exactly? Let's read. Epstein was charged in July by prosecutors in the Southern District of New York with sex trafficking, conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. They claim that he exploited and abused dozens of minors with victims as young as 14. Okay. They haven't dead to rights on that. An important little historic divot here that has to and must be noted. Because libs will be like, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, we have a photo of them together from like the 80s. Look, Trump's on the Epstein list. When Jeffrey Epstein first caught a case in 2008 in Palm Beach, there's only one member of the Palm Beach glitterati, one famous guy that said, I will help you and I will hunt this predator down with you. And that man was Donald Trump. Danny, please get me proof of this. I want that lawyer. The lawyer who put Jeffrey Epstein away stood out front of the courthouse and said, there's one dude that helped me out, and it was Trump. It's nearly a 20-year-old piece of footage. I know we have it in the archive somewhere. I know it. The lawyer who got Jeffrey Epstein on underage prostitution in 2008 said, yo, there's the only famous guy that stuck his neck out to help me put this predator away was Trump. Okay? Let's just make sure that we got all of our facts straight here, Jack. Donald Trump was the only man who helped. There was something happening, a fifth column inside of President Trump's first term. And there were so many things happening in his first term. It's hard to keep up with it. Makes your head spin. Do we have it? Yeah, why not? Just real fast, just because we need to show you the evidence. Let's go.
Only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
And that was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
Isn't it nice to actually have the knowledge base of this entire operation? That is such an obscure clip, such an important clip, because guess who was on the other side fighting Trump? Bill freaking Barr! And it makes me so angry. Check this out. So while Donald Trump was helping put away Jeffrey Epstein in 2008, it was Bill Barr's law firm that was protecting Jeffrey Epstein and sprung him from jail in a never-before-seen plea deal where Jeffrey Epstein and all of his co-associates got to walk free of child predator charges. The government just let him go. Alex Acosta, one more clip I gotta get, Danny. Alex Acosta, he was the federal prosecutor. And he let Jeffrey Epstein free, and he's on tape during his Senate confirmation hearing talking about it. And he says, I got told I didn't have a choice. I got a call from higher up. They forced me to do it. I didn't have a choice. They made me do it. Higher powers sprung Epstein from prison. Who were those higher powers? Let's go ahead and check in here. So Bill Barr was asked if he would investigate the handling of a decades-old Florida plea deal that let Epstein escape responsibility for child sex trafficking here in Florida. He said that he thought his former law firm was involved in the case, and they were. So he had to recuse. Well, that's a little interesting. Why would Bill Barr? Why? So is that Bill Barr? Because clearly this is strange. It seems like a very odd connection. Bill Barr must clearly have, that's a strange connection. Oh, it gets worse. That's a bad connection for Bill Barr. Oh, if you only knew. This is concerning. In addition to the law firm conflict of interest, Alex Acosta, who served in Donald Trump's cabinet with Barr, the U.S. attorney in Miami, when Epstein received this travesty of a plea deal, here's where it gets great. Bill Barr's father was the headmaster of an elite New York school that hired Jeffrey Epstein, even though he was a college dropout and didn't have any credentials, to teach math and physics to little children. Wow. Bill Barr's dad, a guy named Donald Barr, who's now deceased, died in 2004, had connections to the original CIA, the OSS, that became the CIA. He worked there. Then he went on to write about the uniform theory of government, about how there needs to be a government outside of the government that is permanent. He's a theorist of the deep state. Bill Barr's father was a creator of the deep state. Bill Barr's dad hired Jeffrey Epstein when he didn't have a penny to his name and was a college dropout reject. How deep does the rabbit hole go, dude? Bill Barr's dad was CIA. Bill Barr himself has been deep state, working in the attorney generals. He just gets cycled out every Republican administration, just goes, and they throw him in there. It's like a cleanup, mop up deep state guy. And Bill Barr oversaw the death of Jeffrey Epstein, the man his father hired. Are there coincidences in this life? Or are these things planned? It deserves note that Ghislaine Maxwell had the exact same story. Ghislaine Maxwell's father worked in British intelligence, did massive arms deals for the state of Israel throughout Europe, assisted in massive arms deals throughout Europe. Here, his name's Robert Maxwell. You can go look it up. Also rumored to be working with Mossad. Got like a state funeral in Israel. And is somebody who worked in mass media. Is somebody who was honored by Mossad, actually, upon his death. So now you have Jeffrey Epstein, so you have Bill Barr's father, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, both of them uniting in this little operation, isn't it? Fascinating. And there was no conflict of interest for Bill Barr? We just let Bill Barr kill Jeffrey Epstein? It's not just me saying that, ladies and gentlemen. In case you're wondering, the person who has done the most reporting on this is a legend and a man who's the most connected in all of Washington to many of these players. A guy named Tucker Carlson, who was on a podcast 2 years ago, and Tucker says, no, you don't understand. Bill Barr killed Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Barr's lying to us. Tucker goes, I know Bill Barr, and he refused to speak to me about Jeffrey Epstein. He spoke to me about everything else under the sun, and he refused to tell me anything about Jeffrey Epstein. Listen to this revealing moment from Tucker.
Know that he was murdered. He was murdered in the special housing unit of federal lockup in Manhattan.
How do we know he was murdered?
Oh, well, look into it, dude. We did a whole segment on it on my show. Nobody cared.
I'm going to watch it after.
You should. It's beyond belief. And I'm very skeptical of any kind of conspiracy theory or whatever.
Why don't more people go after this, though?
We know that he was murdered because, well, for one thing, A friend of mine's one of the people who last talked to him on the phone the day he was killed. And he had a expectation of a bail hearing in 2 days. He thought he was getting out. He was not despondent at all. I talked to his lawyer, told me the same thing. They moved someone out of his cell. They put two people, one of whom was not even a full-time prison guard, on duty. None of the cameras trained on the cell worked. They were all out of it that night. They locked the front of the special housing unit that had 8 cells in it, but then they opened all the cells inside. So who was it? So I asked a really simple question, the Bureau of Prisons. Who were the other? So there are 8 cells, 16 minus his cell because he was alone. So that means there are 14 other inmates there that night. What are their names? Where'd they go? Some of them were transferred out right after. Who were these people? Can't tell you that. Really? You can't tell me that? Well, on the basis of what? Because some inmate at a federal prison's privacy concerns, like Trump telling, what are you even talking about? Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the United States under Trump, Bill Barr, issues a statement being like, no, it's totally. Bill Barr lied. There's no question that Bill Barr, well, he clearly suspected Epstein was murdered, but stopped the investigation into it. I went and read Bill Barr's book in which he explains all this, and it's like complete bullshit and transparent bullshit. So I have no idea why the Attorney General of the United States would be lying about this, but there's literally no question that he did. I know him. So Bill Barr's super nice guy. We reached out to Bill Barr like, hey, why don't you come on and explain why you lied about Jeffrey Epstein's death? No.
In these moments, it's worthwhile to take a giant step back and recognize who's lied to you and who's told you the truth. Because luckily, in this current crucible that we live in, there is this long historic record of people who've been searching for the light and people who've been living in the darkness. And Tucker Carlson has been searching for the light and has been telling the truth. Actually, it got him fired from Fox. Told too much truth, actually. CIA had a hand in JFK's murder. Investigating the Jeffrey Epstein murders. Getting a little too hot for Tucker. In fact, one of the last specials Tucker ever did was on the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. He was the only reporter. All of the money in the world for these organizations, many of these news companies, publicly traded. They have billions of dollars. We fight them every single day. We love you. Heart out to the chat. We freaking love you. Thank you for helping us defeat the corporate media on this program. They have so much money. They have so much reporting power. Nobody ever looked into Epstein's death. They took it at face value. That the official story is that Epstein, from a cell that had a bunk bed 5.5 feet off the ground, was able to hang himself with a piece of toilet paper cloth, like a prison suit, because he was already on suicide watch. A prison suit that had the veracity of toilet paper. There are images of it that they expect you to believe. There's one right there. That's the official story. There it is. It's perfect. Goodness. There you go. There's the murder weapon right there. That's the official story. Nobody ever looked into it. Nobody ever looked into it. This is a great article. Here, go look. Pop over. Klein, show people. Yeah, show people. Here we go. Scroll. There it is, the murder scene. There you see the little toilet paper cloth. See that little cell? I'm 6 foot tall. I'm 6'1" with the hair. You can't hang a guy from a 5 foot tall bunk bed like that. It doesn't work. In fact, the people who were in charge of the autopsy originally said that his neck was broken. That there were vertebrae in his neck, like the C5, C7, I think, that were snapped. Oh, really? Does this look like this is the snapping post right there. That's how you do it, right? Any men watching this? Do you know how hard it is to actually snap a neck? You know how much physical power you must have to snap a neck? You think that's going to do it? Tucker Carlson was the only man that went in and properly investigated this. Here's what he came up with. He just talked about his investigation. Here's what he came up with. Here we go.
No one came in or out of the tier, Barr said. Therefore, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So let's consider that claim rationally. On the night of August 9th, Jeffrey Epstein was being held in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, the most secure part of the city's federal lockup. It would be physically impossible for a stranger to get in and out of this facility without an electronic pass and without being seen by the countless cameras in place between the street and the locked 9th floor of the building. So if Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, he was not murdered by an intruder, someone who came into the tier. He was murdered by someone on his own cell block, obviously. There were 7 other cells on Epstein's tier, and each one housed dangerous criminals. So if you were looking for a killer, you would figure out who was in those cells. But no one seems to have thought of that or done it. The Bureau of Prisons refused to provide us with a list of the inmates on Epstein's tier. It's not clear how many of them were even interviewed by investigators, despite the fact that some of them were transferred out of the facility shortly after Epstein's death. That's a baffling oversight.
Tucker reviewed the footage. We trust Tucker. He says that there weren't like a goon squad going in and out of the prison. Okay, fine. On the cell block, please load that as a play-beside. On the cell block, all the cameras turned off. All the guards fell asleep, right? They've all been sprung from prison themselves. They caught no charges for falling asleep. Got it? Okay. On the cell block, the doors were open. So it's a pretty simple murder scene. You put the killer in the cell next to Epstein. You put the assassin in the cell next to Epstein. Here's how the op worked. There it is. You put the assassin in the cell next to Epstein. You open up the doors. They go kill Epstein. And then you just transfer them out. And you just disappear them off into the system. Bureau of Prisons. They refuse to tell anyone. They refuse to tell any reporter or anybody who was in the cell block. Can't get any names. And the cameras were all turned off. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody who should know. And then we have more from Tucker, because Tucker's done such excellent reporting on all of this, including the man who did the autopsy for Jeffrey Epstein's murder. And you don't want to, because it's so important, actually, the medical explanation makes absolutely no sense. Let's go to Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell, upon looking at all of the available evidence here, and who knows Jeffrey Epstein better than any human being currently living on Earth, had this to say about the circumstances around Jeffrey Epstein's death.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. Because as far as I was concerned, he was going to... I was sure he was going to appeal. And I was sure that he was covered under the non-prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the indictment. So I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't even one of the co-conspirators.
Jeffrey Epstein was about to appeal. Jeffrey Epstein was about to get out of prison. Again. She says he was killed. Killed by who? Well, we happen to know who Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate was. Just a small man. Clearly, nothing suspicious here at all. We also have a shocking lack of any evidence relating to any digital evidence of this murder. meaning you would assume there would be cell phone footage, phone calls, 911 calls. Tucker Carlson tried to find the 911 call, tried to hunt down, like, who called in? What did they see? Clearly, if somebody finds a crime scene, they're going to describe it. Describe it to me, right? You ever called 911? Describe to me what's happening. Okay, let's listen. Where's that call?
Approaching 4 years since Jeffrey Epstein died in detention in New York City. It's very obvious he was killed. The more you look at the details, and we have, the more clear it is that somebody got inside the most secure federal lockup in our most populated city and murdered Jeffrey Epstein. But who? Well, the Department of Justice is in charge of finding out who, of course, and they say they have had an investigation for almost 4 years. So periodically we reach out to DOJ and ask, how's the Epstein investigation going? We called today again. They told us they'd complete and publish their report soon. We also thought it'd be worth reaching out to the NYPD. We wanted to know what was said in any 911 calls from the federal lockup in New York on the day that Epstein was found dead. NYPD has just turned over one of those calls to us, and it reveals the truth. Here it is. Oh, just kidding. We can't play that 911 call for you because it's been deleted. Really? Just like the videotape. Why? Because we are, quote, well past the 12-month retention period. So it looks like the NYPD deleted the recordings of 911 calls from the jail. So we thought, well, how about the FBI? We called over to the FBI to say, do you have any 911 recordings from the jail, from the federal lockup? And we got no response.
Sorry for the watermark there at the very, very end. We were just putting, it was a deep show, and we're putting all of the pieces together, and so there's so little physical evidence worth talking to the person who, was the last person, the last individual, the last professional that's willing to speak out about this, who observed Jeffrey Epstein physically after death. This man is a forensic pathologist. His name is Dr. Michael Baden. He did Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy. And he had something fascinating that he learned about the conditions of Jeffrey Epstein upon his death, that Jeffrey Epstein's neck was broke. And that's not how it happens with a 5-foot cell. 5-foot bed in a small cell with tissue paper jail uniform because you're already on suicide watch. Here we go.
Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. If you wouldn't mind just summarizing for us what we know, or what you know, about Epstein's death.
Well, I was present at the autopsy, and there were 3 fractures in the windpipe. That are much more typical of crush injury from homicidal strangulation than from hanging. There were petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, again, more typical of homicide. And the ligature imprint on the neck didn't match the ligature that was present in the cell, made from a sheet. So I thought that made it more likely that this was a homicide than a suicide, but we never got to find out how the body was found. Was he found hanging or not, for example, because the two guards were sleeping through that time. He was dead for a few hours before he was found, and the 2 guards never made a statement that was released as to how the body was found. The body was just cut down and brought out to a hospital where he was pronounced dead.
It's unbelievable. Where are the congressional hearings on this? Dr. Baden, I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to say that on this show. It's great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm just like a doctor. I'm not actually a political guy at all, probably a Democrat. I looked at Jeffrey Epstein's neck, and he'd been crushed to death. Seems like pretty important news, considering that this is the physical evidence of a death, and you'd want to have, I don't know, law enforcement agencies like the FBI and the DOJ investigating these things. Oh, his neck was crushed, and he died that way in his cell. Was his neck crushed by neck crusher? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Klein, let's pop that back up. Jeffrey Epstein's best friend and cellmate just so happened to be Mr. Universe. This guy. Klein, get me more on this. I need this article up. Thank you. Let's read this article. Let's go. Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. New details revealed. Let's go ahead and find out. What are these new and exciting details? Jeffrey Epstein. I want to go down to, let's go down to we're looking for the cellmate here. Killer Klein. That's all right. Okay. I Google search that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very exciting. Okay. So, no. I want to hunt that down. This is actually very interesting. This right here. Producers, grab me this. This is something I wasn't expecting. Grab me this. So Klein keeps putting up this image. Ex-cop and former... Stop. Right at the top. Let's read it. Ex-cop and former prison cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein sentenced to life in prison for murder of 4 men. There we go. Thank you. So this guy who killed 4 men, probably with his bare hands, keep scrolling. This guy just happened to be in the same cell as Jeffrey Epstein. Keep going. Got it. So, good. Can't imagine why. Maybe our friend Matt Gaetz can elucidate for us why. Matt Gaetz, who was on the Intel Committee, was a very smart and intelligent individual. Big fans of Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz popped on our show once. We were just doing a stream. We happened to be in his district, right? He's up in the Panhandle. We were in the Panhandle. Matt Gaetz pops on and just drops a thermonuclear bomb on the internet, saying, no. Jeffrey Epstein was working as a foreign intel agent, given the fact that his handler was clearly Bill Barr's dad, who's ex-CIA, and his madame, Ghislaine Maxwell. Her dad was Mossad, so that's Israeli intelligence. Jeffrey Epstein was working with foreign intelligence agencies, and they were the ones who were allowed to go kill him on American soil. Matt Gaetz just dropping this one on us out of the blue. This is what Matt Gaetz thinks. Here we go.
Why is the world's foremost pederast protected? This makes no sense. This is evil, right? Everyone agrees on it. It's you got a 99%
on Epstein. Bill Barr is the one that needs to be called in to give sworn testimony on what happened there at Bureau of Prisons, because that is not that. There's just no way that the story you're getting is the real story there. No freaking way, and Bill Barr knows it.
I think most people believe that, right? It's no way that that's.
I actually think it was I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise.
Really?
I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison.
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
Oh, I think it was in concert with people in our government.
Wow.
But not at some, low level guard getting bribed kind of way.
Yeah.
At a state to state level.
So that's probably a lot of partied interests in keeping that under wraps.
You better believe it. Weapon systems at play, global deals at play.
Interesting. You have evidence to back that up?
I just am positing it as a theory.
Wow. Okay. What about UFOs?
Well, we're learning more each and every day.
Matt was leaving, so I thought I might as well just pepper him with all of the right questions. Okay, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Just forgive me for catching up here on that's something we haven't investigated before, but something that's particularly fun. Judge tells jail to improve conditions for Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate. Would you look at this? Here it is. Jeffrey Epstein's former cellmate, just a young lad, Nicholas Tartleone, former police officer, awaiting trial for a quadruple murder case with his bare hands. He was actually sharing a cell with Jeffrey Epstein when he was placed on suicide watch after they discovered bruises on his neck. Then they discovered that his neck had been crushed, and nobody ever deposed this man as he was immediately moved out of the Bureau of Prisons. This guy. Got it? Yeah, nobody ever put him under deposition. This guy. Right here. This guy who killed these guys with his bare hands, yeah, he just happened to be sleeping with Jeffrey Epstein in the same cell. He was sharing a bunk with Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, okay. Got it. It's too good. Ladies and gentlemen, who killed Jeffrey Epstein? And why? Why did they need to kill Jeffrey Epstein? It's a very interesting connection here because what's clearly happened with Jeffrey Epstein was that he was being operated on a state-to-state level, as Matt Gaetz says, and the op finally comes to an end, and all of the evidence, the get-out-of-jail-free evidence, what Ghislaine Maxwell has said, called an insurance policy when she was in court, that became too inconvenient. Get a load of this. Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk talking about what the government got when Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Let's go.
There are a lot of videos, apparently. Those rooms on the island, and I think out in New Mexico, were wired for video.
Right.
And
where's the video? I mean, between Diddy and Epstein, it's good. There's probably several thousand hours of footage here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird that the people on those videos are lecturing the rest of us about our moral failings, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is that?
Well, I mean, part of how they deflect attention from themselves is by, criticizing the morals of others.
Yes.
So it's sort of like a preemptive moral strike.
Yes.
I mean, as I said, I think those who are saying Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves actually the threat to democracy.
Isn't that a perfect explanation of why they can't have this list released? Yes, it's about the crime. Yes, it's about justice for the victims. And Pam Bondi saying there's 250 different victims, maybe many more. But it's far more about how the unified theory of government works and who's behind it and how they implemented it. Donald Barr, who's Bill Barr's father, and we're going to play you a clip here. Bill Barr actually, there'll come a time when these guys won't be able to walk the streets. There will. Bill Barr in Washington, D.C., standing on a street corner here, had somebody come up and ask him these questions, but I want to just set all this up. Bill Barr, his father was a founding member of the operational group that became the CIA. This group had at its nexus, inside of its heart, the concept that there shouldn't actually be democracy, that democracy is a facade, that this republic that we live in, this constitutional republic, it's fake, it's not real. The only thing that is real is the permanent class of DC bureaucrats that live forever and can do anything. We can murder you. General Flynn made a lot of news yesterday saying that Comey tried to kill me. They all tried to kill me. Oh boy. Got to have Flynn back on soon to talk about this. We can murder, we can kill, the laws don't apply. All that matters is that the permanent bureaucrats, unelected, people who've usurped and gathered unto themselves godlike powers, that they on a state-to-state level, as you heard Matt Gaetz talking about, that they decide who lives and dies, who gets nuked, which children get abused, and for what. And to have that unified theory of government work, you have to be able to control and compromise the President of the United States, billionaire class, royal families. You must have them all in the palm of your hand. And we haven't talked at all about the royal family, but it's just worth noting Virginia Giuffre was paid an untold sum, hundreds of millions presumably, by Prince Andrew in a total and complete admission of guilt, being trafficked to him by Jeffrey Epstein. The op laid totally bare. I'm not British. I don't really care about the royal family. So I'm going to care more about Bill Clinton, obviously. That's our president, right? So that's going to mean something more to me, but you see how the op works. The only way that they stay in power is if they got something on the powerful. And then that makes them the president. That makes them the leader of the military. That makes them the leader of the global world, the universe. And this was part of their little Infinity Stone collection. This was not being run. Was it Mossad? Was it CIA? Probably both, actually. Probably both. We had former FBI agent, can you grab that clip, please, on the show? Earlier this week, talking about sextortion and Mossad engaging in sextortion. And how that's it's Kyle Seferin talking about that. Let's grab that clip quickly. This is how they do it. And so does this now do you see now the full picture here? And why is Trump so scary to them? Because they don't have anything on him. Because Trump actually worked against it. They don't have it. Trump didn't go to the island. Trump didn't do it. And so he's not part of their club. Do you see now the full landscape at play here? As George Carlin said, it was a big club and you're not in it. Thank God, actually. But entry into the club was, we need compromat on you. Jeffrey Epstein was a tool. He was a nobody. He was born in poverty. He wasn't born with billions, all right? He's got a brother not too well off. His brother said he was killed too, by the way. Been constantly suing and begging for any more information on this. All of that aside, Jeffrey Epstein was plucked. Nobody knows why, but was groomed by Bill Barr's father, Donald Barr, to be an operative on a state-to-state level in order to create compromise against the most powerful people on earth, and he was funded by USAID. I don't know, but he was something like that. How does Jeffrey Epstein get billions of dollars? Can somebody tell it to me? Anybody, anyone, can you tell me the service provided by Jeffrey Epstein? Where does money come from? Anybody answer that? Has anybody been able to answer that? Nothing? Got one final haymaker to throw on Bill Barr. Here's Bill Barr in the streets of D.C. There will come a time, and I hope that time is, I hope it starts today. There'll come a time when these people won't be able to walk the streets.
Nice to meet you.
See me? I'm on the corner of Rogers and Second.
Hey, I appreciate all the work you've done. But whatever happened with Jeffrey Epstein, and how come he hung himself in his cell when you were the director of prisons? Mr. Barr, why did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself while you were in charge of the Bureau of Prisons? And why did your dad hire him to teach at the Dalton School? Mr. Barr, why did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself in maximum security prison when you were in charge of the Bureau of Prisons?
Yeah.
I'm asking, Mr. Barr, why did that happen? Your dad hired Jeffrey Epstein to teach at the Dalton School. I don't understand why you don't want to answer a basic question. All right, have a good day.
It's not a real phone call. You can always tell it's not a real phone call. They don't want to answer the questions. Tucker Carlson's friends with this guy. Tucker Carlson's friends with Bill Barr. Tucker Carlson's neighbor was Hunter Biden, right? A little Georgetown clique. Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan, biggest podcast on earth, explaining, I think better than I ever could, but thank you for listening to our humble explanation here as we have done our research to properly explain why this is such a hard nut to crack, why this is so difficult for the federal government to admit these things about Epstein, is to admit that we've all been played. It's to admit the heart of darkness inside of the very federal government that Donald Trump is trying to destroy. What was the Epstein op? Tucker, take it away.
Compromise thing. God, that's an old story.
It's the oldest story.
J. Edgar Hoover. I mean, it's all of them. It's Epstein's Island. It's everything.
But look, I don't have any. I'm telling you, what's the phrase the finance guys use? Open kimono. Like, I'm actually telling you all I know. I don't know anything else.
Right.
But I know that the publicly available facts tell a really clear story, which is the government is not acting on behalf of the population. And so it's inherently illegitimate because its only legitimacy derives from the citizenry. The only reason the government can do things that it does, kill people, collect money by force, all the powers that it has, come from one place, and that's the consent of the governed. That's the only legitimacy they have.
And that's where it's fascinating, this concept of good and evil. Because when you think about it, if this is true, and if these people are compromised because they're secretly perverts and creeps.
They are, though.
And they're corrupt, and they steal money, or all these different things are evil things. Lying, controlling people, engaging in unnecessary wars that are going to cost thousands of lives for profit. All these things are evil things. So if evil is real, evil would want those kind of people to be in a position of power.
Yes.
So esoteric there from Rogan. It does belie the actual existence of evil. And that's why we started this long treatise on what Epstein was and why this list being released today is so important. And we have breaking news on this, by the way. President Trump has been an agent of light. President Trump has, with regularity and with his first promise to the American people, said, I will expose these pederasts. I will expose the people that the government is protecting because they are the government. This cult is the government. The unified theory of governance is the idea that American democracy is fake and the only thing that's real is the deep state. So this is what Trump is attacking. And of course, how do these people operate? Compromise. Epstein's just one version of that. Remember, the FBI currently has terabytes of information that was marked evidence and insurance policy from Jeffrey Epstein. And when you watch the way that Bill Clinton, and when you watch the way that Bill Gates, and you watch the way that Melinda Gates and Cindy McCain and these people respond, when you talk about Epstein like a sunlight to a vampire, like hitting a vampire with holy water, a cross. Dick Durbin, who is responsible for the lack of a release of the Epstein list, because as the Senate Judiciary Chairman, he could have forced the FBI to release what they know, or made it very painful for the FBI. Dick Durbin said, don't know anything about that. It's amazing. When he's confronted in the hallway here. This is just days ago. We're going to show you We're going to show you what it was like when Democrats led the committee versus Republicans, in case you're wondering if you were on the side of light here. Okay, first off, here's what happens when Democrats were asked. I think this was late last year. Democrats were still in control of the Senate. Dick Durbin was still in control of the Judiciary Committee. Listen to his response.
Durbin, can I ask you a quick question? Why won't you subpoena Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs?
So who are you?
Hillary Vaughn with Fox.
With Fox, of course. I don't know anything about his flight logs.
But why won't you subpoena them? Why don't you want to know?
I don't even know the issue. I know who Epstein was, but I certainly don't know anything about the issue.
Well, he was charged with sex trafficking, so why don't you want to know who was utilizing his private plane?
Never been raised by anyone.
Well, Senator Blackburn has wanted to subpoena them, and there hasn't been a vote in your committee.
Said a word to me, not a word.
But aren't you curious, like, what high-profile or powerful people might be closeted predators and pedophiles? Doesn't that concern you?
Of course.
So why won't you subpoena them if you can?
It's the first time anyone has raised it. Thank you, Fox.
So are you curious about it? Will you do it?
Durbin's a liar. Last week, Primetime asked his office.
Yeah. It continues that, of course, his office knows who Jeffrey Epstein is and knows where the flight logs are. This was the wall that we ran into less than a year ago. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the tone has changed. Breaking as of this morning, Senator Marsha Blackburn, who's been a great advocate and fighter for this on Capitol Hill, who's on this committee, she was on Fox News, and she had this to say about today's release of the Epstein list.
Senator, you said you're going to release what you know. What can you tell us?
Yes, indeed, and I've been so pleased that A.G. Bondi and Director Patel have worked with me on this. As she said, we have to make certain that these victims, and it is over 250, that their names are redacted, they are protected. And Maria, this is going to be a phase 1 release in short order. I will have the hard copy in my hand. A.G. Bondi is responsible for what will be the public release on this. She has worked diligently on this, and so appreciative that we can begin to get this information, that we can begin to break apart what became a global human trafficking, sex trafficking ring, about $150 billion a year business. It is time to get some justice for these victims, for these women and children, and this will be a phase 1 release. There will be more to come.
That is
more to come. Phase 1 release. So if we get something today, when we get something today, let me correct that record, know that it's part of a larger and more thorough process to, I believe, ensure the destruction of the cult that President Trump has been fighting in the modern political era. They have the files. They have the videos. They know what this was all about. It's very sensitive because it's going to include or implicate, most likely, foreign governments, foreign states, foreign intel agencies, which was what the Epstein op was. Probably an intelligence sharing operation for compromise, and it's going to destroy careers. It's going to destroy Bill Clinton. It's going to atomize the leadership of the Democrat Party. And it's going to atomize institutions, because America is going to have to accept the reality that we have a predator president in Bill Clinton. And that some of the greatest companies were built by these degenerates. Some big company. I mean, Microsoft's a big company. It's a very successful company. It was the single most successful company on earth for like 20 years. That these predators and these people were willing to do anything for power. Then we need to start asking questions about the Podestas. You have to start asking questions about Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign and the people running that, the leaked emails from the DNC. You need to start asking the right questions. That's what we do on this program. We had an intel expert who was on the show earlier this week, and we asked about this. It's the first time we've had somebody who's left the intelligence world, and the FBI, being an FBI agent is being an intelligence agent. The FBI is an intelligence arm of the federal government, the DOJ specifically. The CIA is an intelligence arm of the State Department. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Sefrin, saying absolutely, this is probably the most likely operation for Jeffrey Epstein, being used as a foreign agent in order to grab compromat on America's power vector, culturally, politically, financially, and in the business sphere, and from Wall Street. That's how Epstein got all of his money. This is how he got all of his power. This is how he got his plane. And American politicians and American celebrities were too stupid to realize that they were all being played. Let's go.
I think, first of all, like broadly talking about that topic, which is that you mentioned it earlier, Mossad, sort of Israel intelligence operations going on in the FBI. Yeah,
we only know what we're told. We
know what we're told, and
by
that
people on the intel committees. Yeah,
and it plays along very well with the way that Israel and the United States work in these spaces, because Israel is a very much like in a frenemy type space. There are things where Israel is beneficial to the United States, and we want them to be successful. There's times when they're stealing technology and they're working against us. So they are a kind of this weird target where you don't really mind if they're succeeding, but you also got to try to stop them from doing something and overreaching. They have access to the cookie jar, but not all of it. And so Israel is an interesting animal, and they're kind of unique in the counterintelligence space because they do operate that way. They look out for Israel, number one, and they don't play the same way as the other allies we have. So yes, I've heard the same things you have. I can't substantiate it. I didn't work on those cases. The FBI is pretty good at compartmentalizing those things. So we can say that, is it within the purview or the capabilities of the Israeli intelligence sphere to do, sort of sextortion or sexual blackmail? For sure. I mean, everybody's heard it, and it's not because it's made up, right? That's a real thing. Was he probably working in that way? Most likely. Yeah, I think that makes sense from everything that I've been able to see. Do I have any hands-on evidence? No. What I also know is that what I told you earlier, as an intelligence agency, the default position is we're not going to tell you.
Is this what was happening? Yep. This is what was going on. And it's time to destroy him. This is what President Trump has promised. This is what Donald Trump said. This is the clearest interview question of President Trump on Jeffrey Epstein that we have. It was from the 2024 campaign, Lex Friedman's podcast, and Lex, in his 3-hour sort of meandering sidewinder interviews, said, Epstein, you going to do it? And President Trump's reaction is exactly what you'd expect. Here we go.
I was not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein, and you watched people yesterday saying that I threw him out of a club. I didn't want anything to do with him. That was many, many years ago. It shows you one thing, that I have good taste, okay? Now, other people, they went all over with him. They went to his island. They went all over the place. He was very well known in Palm Beach. His island, whatever his island was, wherever it is, I was never there. Find out the people that went to the island. But Jeffrey Epstein was not somebody that I respected. I threw him out. In fact, I think the great James Patterson, who's a member of Mar-a-Lago, made a statement yesterday that many years ago I threw him out. I'm not a fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of content to cover in our script today. That was President Trump when Jeffrey Epstein was first locked up from the White House lawn. When Jeffrey Epstein first caught a case. Here is President Trump recently on the Lex Friedman podcast explaining what he's about to do as president. Promises made, promises kept.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
A man spoken from the mouth of an innocent man. A man who's innocent of all of this. And who said something, I think, very telling there, which is, these people are all still alive. Everybody who was a part of the Kennedy assassination in 1963, they're dead. They're gone. They're plotted. Epstein circles, those people not only are still around, they're still in power, many of them. So do you understand the operation now? Have we done enough to set the table? Because this has been a learning experience for us, too. And when you see clips like this, and I'll play it one more time, we're only going to repeat one clip. We're only going to repeat one clip. Yep. When you see clips like this, do you not understand why Trump must release the list? Do you understand why Trump, what power Trump is actually fighting? Yes, we want justice for the victims. Yes, we must have it. Everybody on this list, everybody who can be proven to have done anything wrong or criminal, they all must go to jail. Don't give a damn if there are Republicans on that list. I don't care. It's a meme at this point. This is what President Trump's been fighting, and it's perfect coming from John McCain's wife. This is actually the heart of darkness that President Trump has been fighting. Here we go.
It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
Oh, I wonder, why were they afraid of him? John, it's not like you're married to maybe one of the most powerful American politicians walking the earth. Arguably one of the most powerful men walking the earth, right? John McCain at peak, right? John McCain, big time fame. Toppling governments in Ukraine, right? Toasting during the Maidan Revolution. During the American-sponsored coup, John McCain physically able to destroy governments with Victoria Nuland. And she's scared of Epstein. Why? What does it tell you? I'm no fan of John McCain. I'm just simply saying that John McCain's incredibly powerful. At the peak of his power, John McCain, definitely the most powerful Republican in America, right? 2008, he's running for president. Okay? I've never liked John McCain. You probably never liked John McCain. I certainly don't like John McCain. Now. So this lady's married to the most powerful man in the entire Republican Party in a two-party system, and she's saying, we're scared of Epstein. What does that say? I know I belabored the point, but I think it's worth hitting at the actual heart of darkness of what's going on here. It says that what they were scared of was not Jeffrey Epstein, who's an unelected nobody who didn't even graduate like college. They're scared of the system he represents, which was the unified theory of government as brought about inside of the satanic cults that operate and are clearly visible in the group chats of the NSA, the CIA, the dark hearts of the intel agencies that believe that there is no democracy and that the only thing that runs the globe is a series of unelected, a unified group of unelected foreign bureaucrats that are so entrenched and so powerful that they can never be done away with. And if you try, they'll kill you. Literally kill you. Literally kill you. If they try, they'll kill you. President Trump, multiple assassination attempts. General Flynn saying they tried to kill me yesterday. Comey tried to kill me. So this is why they're scared. This is why. Is there breaking news, Klein, on this? Okay. Let's pop it up. Ladies and gentlemen, Alina Habba on Piers Morgan. Boy, should have booked her on our show. Goodness gracious. Alina Habba on Piers Morgan. What does she say? Alina Habba just said that she met with Kash Patel and with Pam Bondi. And she says the Epstein list will be out today. She says it's shocking, it's damning, and there's going to be criminal charges coming quickly from all of this. Ooh, baby, we're cooking today. Let's listen to our dear friend, Alina Habba.
Jeffrey Epstein files, we're told, are to be imminently unleashed. And already we saw the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, say that it's the scale of what happened is far worse than anyone realized. Well over 200, maybe 250 victims, and that we're going to get information either later today or tomorrow from these files. What can you tell me about that?
I believe it will be today. I was just with, I saw Pam and Cash in the White House just before coming on your show. And I can tell you that I haven't been privy to it yet, but I know it is coming out. They will be taking portions of it. We have to be patient. And I said this last night at a dinner with some media. And I said, I think America needs to remember one thing. We are going to be promises made, promises kept. But when you're dealing with victims, and by the way, this is a perfect example of a case that was vetted, that went through trial, that had testimony, and was prosecuted the right way. I don't preemptively attack. That's just not the way I operate. But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
And we know that only one person so far has actually gone to prison over that whole scandal. It was Ghislaine Maxwell, the former lover of Jeffrey Epstein. No man so far has actually been put in prison as a result of what happened. Do you think by releasing information from these files, we are likely to see criminal actions being taken?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think it would be negligent for us not to. You have to hold individuals who are indeed rapists accountable. We have to have them tried, in my opinion. And I do believe in that. You know, nobody should be just dismissed. You have to have your time in court and your case will be heard. But to hide lists, to protect political friends, all of that, we don't have time for that.
Wow. Way to go, Piers. We'll be on Piers Morgan's show actually here in just a few minutes. Incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, I just cannot express enough what a powerful moment that we are living through, a moment of light and a moment of exposing and a moment of destruction for some of the most evil, darkest, satanic, sickest, most antithetical to the founding of this country institutions that have ever existed. Final pinprick on all of this, because I want to show you the difference between our show and the corporate media, and why we're so thankful for you, and why there's nothing but hearts out to the chat. We freaking love the chat. We love you. The corporate media was why this scandal derailed and went so sideways. The corporate media protected Jeffrey Epstein. If you want to go back into history and understand where ABC, NBC, and CBS all came from, and how every one of those organs is a federal government, Operation Mockingbird, heads of intelligence agencies, generals running these major news outlets, and how they're total controlled news for mass consumption and the panic that is created because nobody watches them anymore, we don't have time for that. That's another show. We do talk about it regularly. But this shows you exactly how Epstein was able to get away with it, thanks to our friends at Project Veritas. This clip of a reporter named Amy Rohrbach, who, if she had a show like ours, would have been able to actually tell you about Jeffrey Epstein close to 10 years ago, would have been able to get Clinton because she had him dead to rights. In her own words, the royal family, all of it. She had victims. She had Jeffrey Epstein's victims all on the record, and they killed it. These people that tell you they're champions of women, they killed it. These progressives that run ABC News, these Democrats, they stopped Epstein's victims from speaking because of who it would implicate and how it would affect their version of the federal government. It's not a version that you ever want to live under. It's absolute tyranny. Oligarchy is actually what it is. This will be the last clip we'll play you today, because I know we've gone deep on this, but this is why we're so thankful for you. Without you, we would all still be living inside of this system of power. And here is how it worked. Go.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
And they killed it. You know who killed it? The guy who produced the January 6th hearings. This is the same executive. This little goblin executive from ABC News who slithered over to the January 6th committee hearings to put on a public production. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. This ABC News executive. They're all fighting for the same thing. Permanent control and power. And the way to destroy it is to expose them because they're sick monsters. And we have the evidence now. They destroyed her reporting, and now they're destroying more evidence, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking, hot off the presses from Jack, who's a wonderful producer at this company, and you must follow Jack. Jack Unheard, at Jack Unheard. He's an excellent, excellent young producer, and he's a young creator, and we're honored to work with him. Epstein secrets erased as creepy Palm Beach pedophile layer is quietly bulldozed before bombshell client list revelations. Well, this is strange. Fascinating timing, this. Epstein's secrets erased. Creepy Palm Beach pedophile layer suddenly got hit with the bulldozer. Starting today, wiped off the map. Let's scroll through the article, show the people. Killer Klein. Would you look at that? There it goes. So they're demoing Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach mansion where he caught the case. He caught a single case for underage prostitution solicitation in this mansion. It's where they have voluminous files. The Palm Beach officials who raided this, the cops, are under deposition, saying that there were mountains of hard drives, cameras in every room, recording devices. And then Alex Acosta let him free, sprung him from jail, and said, a higher power, the powers that be, told me to do it. He's too valuable of an asset. It's crazy. So there it is. We also brought you evidence this past week that perhaps the FBI is destroying evidence on a secret server. We had a whistleblower on our program talking about that. This is all about applying the correct pressure to ensure that we get what we want, which is justice. We want people going to prison, as Alina Habba just talked about. It looks like they are in panic mode, destroying the evidence of their crimes right now. Crazy. Crazy. Man, the corporate media. Just one final addendum to this that we were planning on getting to before this breaking news. CBS News reporter Catherine Herridge, who's awesome, she got fired. CBS went and stole all of her files on Hunter Biden, COVID origins, seized all of her reporting. They took it all. They kicked her out of the building. They marched her out of the building, security. She got too close to the Biden scandal with her reporting, and then they stole all of the evidence that she had. Exactly 1 year ago, CBS returned my investigative reporting files. Today I'm releasing photos and records for the first time that you can see the sheer volume involved. 4 large moving boxes weighing 100 pounds in total. There it is, man. Jeez. Don't listen to the corporate media. Subscribe to independent creators who can ask these questions and can't have a boot come down on the back of our neck. I realize that we frankly put ourselves in jeopardy by reporting on these things, by asking these questions. We've facilitated, based on the power of this audience and our questions to Pam Bondi, we facilitated this moment. Alina Habba saying that people will go to prison for it. Boy, wouldn't that be something? Please, ladies and gentlemen, support our program. We've just done 2 hours, and I apologize to our guests. We just had too much going on. Yeah, we could do another 5 hours, and we probably will. Tune in, subscribe, support us in our work. We have no USAID funding, no corporate funding, right? We love our partners that we have on this program, but our biggest partner is actually you. So please support us by liking, by subscribing to the channel, liking our pages, by joining the Benny Brigade at BennyJohnson.com, becoming a member. Get cool emojis if you do that, or just watching. Just watching alone. And we've had record viewership on our show today. Just watching helps us do this work more than you could possibly imagine, because it gives us the power and the energy and the weight to throw around to go into these halls of Congress, the White House, and to say, no, we're going to bring our audience with us. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do it for you. And I'll say it, this is the reason why it matters so damn much to me, is because I got myself a little household of children. I got 4 kids at home, and I love them so much. And anybody that would ever harm a kid, here's a photo I took of my son this morning. He's getting a workout in. My son sits there as I get a workout in. His baby Whitaker. I got these little kids at home, and anybody who would harm a child is my enemy. And the scriptures are very clear about this. It's better for you to have a giant rock tied around your neck and be thrown into the bottom of the ocean than for you to harm a child. And so we're here to fight for the kids. We're here to fight these human traffickers. We're here to fight these predators. That is the spirit of darkness in the heart of it. You cannot have light in your soul if you harm a child. This is the spirit of darkness. And those people gained control of so much in our country. And that's not my country. So we're going to expose them. We're going to devote our energy to it. And we're going to view it as our moral crusade. to fight evil. This is our opportunity to fight evil together. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe. If you listen to the podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're going to be doing a lot on those channels, but subscribe to that RSS feed. It'll really help us out. And we roll now. We are going to win. The best part about it is that God gives us the energy and the fight and the motivation. We're fathers and mothers. We're grandparents, wannabe parents. We're Americans. And that's good enough motivation for me. We're living in a sacred timeline right now, and we get a chance to defeat evil in our time. We're going to do it with the verse of the day. Ephesians 6:13. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then, after the battle, you will be standing firm. Are we living in the time of evil? Yeah, oh yes we are, and we've lived through it. And now is not a time for a victory dance. Now is a time for offense. We have them on their back heels. They thought they'd won, as Satan always does, as darkness always does. They got fat, they got happy, they got pompous and arrogant, and now it's time to fight, and now it's time to win, and we will win. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Benny. March with us on to victory. Can't defeat an army of happy warriors. Join us. It's going to be a fun ride. See ya.
There's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need. Now, here she comes. Devil with the toothbrush on. She's the devil with the toothbrush on. Lord have mercy. Not to get it, she's not too bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi.
Welcome to the last and final Oscars in U.S. history. Y'all must be very proud of yourself. I bet you didn't expect us to be hosting. Now, if you will all take your seats while the bailiff locks the doors, we would like to read from our list. You're all under arrest.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.